Explosive claims now, as Queen Elizabeth was apparently furious over Harry and Meghan's decision to name their daughter Lilibet. The Sussexes said that the Queen had given them her blessing to be the baby's namesake, but according to a new book by Robert Hardman, a member of staff says their choice to use her childhood nickname made the monarch as angry as they'd ever seen her. Hardman goes on to say that Harry and Meghan then tried to co-opt Buckingham Palace into propping up their version of events, but were rebuffed. The couple's lawyers also wrote to broadcasters and publishers saying that claims that Elizabeth was not asked for permission about the name were false and defamatory. Recollections may vary indeed. Look, Robert Hardman is a very highly respected and impeccably sourced royal biographer. I don't think that anybody doubts that this anecdote kind of rings true. With
I doubt it.
OK, well, we'll come to you. We'll come to you.
It.
It's not just the insensitivity for me of co-opting, a private, affectionate childhood name that the Queen used, that the sisters used between themselves because they couldn't pronounce the name Elizabeth. It's the fact that Harry and Meghan then sent their highly aggressive firm of lawyers after people who tried to dispute this version of events. It's what they do. Once again, they've turned their back on the royal family. They've, they then trash everyone's reputations, splurge all the private secrets, but they still want the royal names. They still want the royal titles. They still want the special status.
What's the name of the man again, your friend Hardman?
Robert Hardman.
My friend, I don't know the man.
Robert Hardman. I think he's a disgrace because what he's done, actually, I'm not a royalist, but I did love our Queen. And what he's done is made her now be painted in a light that makes her look petty. People are going to say she was obviously racist because it was because her grandchildren were of mixed heritage that she didn't want to share the name.
No.
That's what people say.
No.
It looks extremely petty. However, I don't buy the story. I don't buy the anecdotes because we've got on record, someone actually on record, not an aide with a source telling him, on record, Giles Brandreth, who did a book less than 2 years ago, saying that the Queen actually took it as a compliment and she was happy that Harry and Meghan had asked for permission to use the name. And she'd given them the blessing. And even...
two conflicting stories there.
Well, one's on the record and one's from a source that's been told to someone else. And even if we go to Hardman's, whatever his name is, go to his story,
Robert Hardman.
Robert Hardman, he is saying that the Queen said yes to Harry and Meghan. So who was at fault here? The Queen said yes, and then he's now saying, oh, but she said yes, but she was so angry. No one had ever seen her as angry before. No chance. No, I don't buy it.
This Robert Hardwick guy.
Stop it.
His pedigree, you say, is...
Robert Hardman writes for the Daily Mail, which may or may not have been a newspaper you're familiar with, JJ. And
JJ.
He's also a very, very good friend of mine, and he's coming on my Times radio show on Friday night to talk about his biography of King Charles III to me and my 3 listeners. And I will put these claims to him. I mean, I thought what JJ said, actually, because Robert is a very good friend of mine, was really quite interesting because he is an impeccable source, Robert Hardman. I mean, he's about as much as a royal spokesman as you can be without working for the royal family. I mean, the documentary on King Charles's coronation, that was written by him. All the big documentaries, all the documentaries around the Queen written by him. He's a royalist to his fingertips, but also and very close to the royal family. But he is a journalist first and foremost. I mean, he's been a journalist since he left university. And it is. I thought what you said was really interesting because, first of all, I would trust Robert Hardman completely to get his sources, have good sources, and get his story right. But it is interesting what you say about a royalist like Robert Hardman and the way he portrays the Queen is quite interesting because if the Queen was very angry, is that something that Robert would want to portray in his book? So I'm going to ask him that question on Friday night.
But whatever Robert Hartley has put in his book...
Hardman. He's a hard man.
When they say they've never seen the Queen as angry as this, I mean, sometimes you just have to take a step back and go, right, OK. So firstly, who saw this apparently out, pouring of anger? Who literally... If the Queen was that angry, who would have actually seen that? How did it manifest? Did she smash up a room of vases or something, or, rip some flags up? I doubt whether any of that really happened. So I'm not disputing that somebody told Robert Harrington some of this, but I am wondering whether...
So I wouldn't
like
want to come up
Hardwick
against you two in court because you're very good at forensically examining. Apart from being very bad at names, you're very good at forensically examining.
I think
the evidence.
I think Robert is probably, let's settle on that, I think Robert is probably satisfied with his source. But I question the source.
Well,
and Brandreth was also a man who was very well connected.
Extremely well connected.
Yes, but I think that in some ways both stories can be true. I think that Brandreth...
Well, she can be incredibly angry, but also really, really happy about it.
Yes, I think she can be incredibly angry privately, but not want the world to know that she was incredibly angry. And I think that she probably used Giles Brandreth to put it out there. Because once they had named the child, there was absolutely nothing she could do. She couldn't get them to unname the child. And I also think this is the most litigious man, Harry, in the world. And the one thing he loves doing is taking the mail to court. We know he's done it repeatedly. So if there was a scintilla of a chance of him winning this case and suing Robert Hardman, I think he would do it. And that's why I think that Robert Hardman must be very, very confident that he can prove
there would be,
this, because they would sue.
Funny how you royals always stick together, isn't it? Or you royal commentators. Okay, Daisy.
Well, that's what I
Well,
think.
according to Robin Hardwick's... very good. Harper, sorry. Robert
Hoodwink.
OK. According to this book, Elizabeth wasn't the only royal to get the hump with Harry. Apparently, Prince William was also left fuming after his brother's comments in the Netflix special about royal marriages struck a nerve.
I think for so many people in the family, especially obviously the men, there can be a temptation or an urge to marry someone who would fit the mold, as opposed to somebody who you perhaps are destined to be with. The difference between making decisions with your head or your heart.
Well, William reportedly read this comment as a jibe about Kate, with one friend describing it as the lowest of the low.
Well, he's right, isn't he? I mean, that's like a missile aimed at Kate. From what anyone reading that, even Robert Hardman would work that one out.
Yeah, I mean, this was without a doubt a dig and saying, my brother did what was expected of him, married, a boring woman from the home counties who would just do as she was told,
and
doesn't have the chutzpah and hasn't been hasn't been out there and done a proper job. That was clearly what it meant.
Proper job, like an actress.
Proper job, or whatever. It was just
being an actress isn't easy. Like you muck it.
I know. It was really challenging.
Well, actually, but to get to that point, you don't know what it's like to be an actor. To be in the creative industry, whether you're an actor or musician, you spend a lot of your early part of your career earning jack and all.
But JJ,
it's like being a journalist.
This was a dig at Kate.
I don't deny that. Absolutely 100%. It was. But I'm not saying you can't just say, oh, being an actress is a real job. Actually, most people who are actors or actresses have other jobs at the same time as that.
Pretty low behaviour. I mean, if any of us did that sort of dig publicly at our sister-in-law or brother-in-law, the rest of our family would be, even if we hated the sister-in-law or brother-in-law, it's really
They are a family at war. So what do you expect them to do? Like, you're acting surprised that Harry made that dig. No, they're a family at war, and Harry has said plenty about his brother. Not forgetting, by the way, that William, according to Harry, is a very violent man. Don't forget, he punched him, knocked him to the floor, ripped his necklace.
Well, did he all forget that, don't we? He did something in the dog bowl.
Yeah, Harry fell into the dog bowl, smashed it from Angry Willie.
All right.
JJ, I think you've taken this as far as it's going to go.
Yeah, I'm going to bring us back
to... Mr. Prince. I imagine a royal punch from Prince is a very different...
He had a bet in the pub.
Oh, you rotter.
He had a bet in the pub before coming on the show. How long can I do this with a straight face?
I think that's what happened.
Right, guess who we're going back to now?
Go on.
Robert Hardman. Now, he has also
He's taken over this programme.
He has taken over this programme. So he has also revealed that the Queen on her deathbed wrote these two letters, one for Charles and another for her top aide, Sir Edward Young. So these are the dispatch box that her documents were kept in, were brought forward with the two keys, one key for her and one for her private secretary. Now, of course, Robert Hardman says that he doesn't know and will never know what the Queen wrote in these letters, but...
Freedom of information request.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure Harry will make something up. He'll tell us what's in the letter to Charles.
Yeah. But you know, obviously the implication being, or more than implication, that she was still working and
well, I mean,
on her
Robert
deathbed.
says that in his book because he's such a royalist. The whole theme is the Queen was working on her deathbed, dispatching business.
I do feel a bit queasy about this story.
It's getting to the point
because I don't want to know about the Queen on her deathbed. Yeah. It just seems, so even though she was doing her constitutional duty, to me, that seems such a private moment. If she was
even finding out that Charles was out gathering mushrooms at the moment, I felt that was no, I know it's funny, but it's not really. I mean, you know, you nip out to the lavatory and your father dies or your mother dies. You know, this is kind of it felt too personal.
What I would say is, I think there's a deep hypocrisy here in that if, as you say, Harry had said this information and said, well, actually, Grandmama left a letter for father. We'd say, how dare he say this? This is private information. This guy says it, makes a few pounds off a book, and we're going to sit here and talk and say, well, he's a royalist.
I think that's a really good point. It's clearly been authorised by the royal family at the highest level.
Yeah.
And I think you make a very good point, because if Harry had done it...
So you're saying that Charles authorised this? I'm just reading between the lines.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, must have done.
Yes. And I guess from his point of view, obviously it does paint the Queen in a very positive light, because her sense of duty was so much that she was still working for the rest of us on her deathbed. So that's a positive story for the royal family to put out there. It also puts Charles in a good light, because it shows that the Queen was thinking about her son on her deathbed. But I don't like it. I don't like this story. I think it's too much information.
I found this discussion really interesting, because I obviously read these excerpts, and I am party pre, because I like Robert. I read these excerpts without any kind of side to them, thinking these are all very interesting. And hearing this discussion, it has made me kind of think again about
your friendship.
We're happy to help.
No, not my friend with Robert.
Friendship with Robert Hardman.
Not with Robert. Not my friendship with Robert Houtenay. More about whether this was the right, even though it's obviously come from the family, whether this was the right thing to do.
We'll get his name right one day, won't we?